For today's podcast, it's time for another board recap podcast. How are you today, Dr. Smith?
Very good day. Gorgeous day outside.
Beautiful weather.
Yeah, for the first third of April.
We'll take it.
Been blessed. You bet.
Yes, definitely. So let's jump into last night's school board meeting if you're willing. And we started, as always, with good news. And we're going to call this great news from now on because it does seem like every time we have such good news to go through that's taking place in all of our schools. So last night, we lifted several individuals that do a great job for us. One was Nora Walsh. She is a longtime science teacher at Wrights High School, and she was selected as an Indiana finalist for the Presidential Awards for Excellence in Mathematics and Science Teaching. So congratulations to Nora for that. We always do very well, it seems like, with Leadership Everyone's Celebration of Leadership Awards, and this year was no exception to that. So we had several either individuals or groups or programs that were recognized at this year's COL recognition, and those were our Festival of Nations that just took place recently, our EVSC opt-in signing day that takes place in the late spring every year. Elisina Martin from the EVSC Foundation was recognized. Robin Wipkenberg was recognized, and Justin McCullough Haddix received an award. So congratulations to all of them. Speaking of awards, last week, we took part in those surprise announcements that are certainly one of our favorite things each year, the Vanderburgh County Outstanding Educator Awards. And we had surprise ceremonies. I like the one picture, especially of one of our winners. You can just see the shock on his face. So congratulations to Brianna Campbell. She was the elementary school teacher of the year in Vanderburgh County at Lodge Community School. Jance Johnston, who teaches sixth grade at Delaware, was the middle school outstanding educator of the year. Tim Wilhelmus, the outstanding high school educator of the year at Central High School. And New Tech principal Chris Gibson was the Vanderburgh County principal of the year. So congratulations to all of them. And then last but not least, we just mentioned Chris Gibson at New Tech. Speaking of New Tech, they won a state championship in robotics, and that just recently happened. And they actually are the first Indiana robotics state champions, and this win will qualify them to attend the first championship Worlds event in Houston, Texas, coming up here in just another week or two, and best of luck to them. And I think that's pretty good news from last night.
I agree. I think it's great news, and couldn't be prouder of all the accomplishments, not only of our teachers, but also certainly of our students.
Definitely. It's always fun to go through those, and we always like lifting those on social media and then highlighting some of those to our school boards. So then that wrapped up that part of the meeting last night and took us into consent items, if you will.
All right. We'll jump into consent item 3.02, consideration allowance of payments. So for this pay period, it was $18,390,955.82, and that was for almost the entire month of March. So that's why it's a large amount, included 2 pays. That's a lot of money.
Yes.
Item 3.03, consideration approve the purchase of items from extracurricular accounts. So we have 2 things. We have several schools now that have a rock climbing wall, and Highland is going to install.
Very popular with students, and it's amazing how they utilize that in PE, and it really is something students enjoy.
You bet. And then T-Couple is going to buy a volleyball equipment set. Then item 3.04, consideration to approve the regular board meeting dates for the 2023 to 2024 academic year. And our patrons can click on the file there and look at all the school board meeting dates for the upcoming year. Item 3.05, consideration to approve the renewal with Gold Book Toolkit. This is an asset for our special ed teachers that we started using this year, and the results have been overwhelmingly favorable. So we are going to once again provide this for our special ed teachers, and we're very happy to be able to do that. 3.06, consideration to approve the permanent electrical distribution line easement to CenterPoint Energy in Indiana South for Bosse, and this really is due to the proposed location of the pedestrian bridge that is going to go over Highway 41. So we're grateful for the collaborative effort that we have here in southern Indiana, specifically in Evansville. So we are providing that easement for CenterPoint Energy for, I think, some consideration. And let me see if I can find the dollar amount.
That's certainly a project that's been a long time coming, and really it's through the
Yep.
state. So we're looking forward to doing whatever we can do to work with
Right.
them so that can get off the ground.
Yes. So be compensated $1,991.67 for that easement. Item 3.07, consideration to approve the pipeline easement from CenterPoint Energy South, and this is for Central. So this runs alongside our softball fields and soccer fields, and it is to make certain that they can improve the distribution for gas or other substances through their pipelines. Then moving on to item 3.08, consideration to approve the architect for the Boise High School security camera system. As we've been working with provider for cameras and looking at everything that we want to do for Boise High School, it really did reach a dollar amount where we want to bring that back to the board for approval of an architect. As you know, Boise is a gorgeous school. We certainly want to maintain that inside. And Boise is one of those schools that is extremely solid. It was built in the time. I had the blessing of teaching there for 11
Yeah,
years.
you
And I
spent many
remember
years there.
going into the basement as well as up into the attic and just being amazed at the thickness of the walls. Well, because of that, takes a little bit of extra effort to install our cameras, and that's why we're getting the services, obtaining the services of an architect.
But aren't we lucky and aren't our students fortunate to attend such a historic building that really is, I would say, one of the most beautiful school buildings in the state when you look at it?
I would wholeheartedly agree. Gorgeous inside,
Yes.
out. Yes. 3.09, consideration to approve the revised agreement with Marcia Brenner Associates. So, as we are moving to Power School for our new student information system, we already had contract with Marcia Brenner Associates, what we refer to as MBA, but we also learned that there was some greater functionality that our folks could use in extended day and week care programs. So we are going to purchase that additional functionality and have MBA make some modifications for us. So we are excited about that and the benefit that will bring for our parents that utilize those services. Item 3.10, consideration to approve the agreement with Reflection Sciences. So I am really pleased with this. We are piloting this in the remaining days of school for the spring so that we can roll this out for all of our kindergarten students next year. But we've talked a great deal about executive functioning skills and how important those skills are. Executive functioning skills are actually a better predictor of success post schooling than a GPA or an IQ score.
Because it really does, we talk about this all the time, carry over into what employers want to see in an effective workforce.
So very few school systems actually know much about executive functioning skills. I think even fewer are trying to be very mindful and intentional about how they utilize information when it comes to executive functioning skills. So we will be able to have baseline data on our kindergarten students next year. This is basically piloting what that looks like so that when we do roll it out, it will be a much smoother process. So we're excited about what the potential holds for that. And this is, I think, a great first step.
Yeah, looking forward to that. I do have one quick question on 3.04, and I'm just asking you this, Dr. Smith, because I get asked this from time to time from people. Simple answer to the question. We typically have 2 school board meetings a month. Why do we need that number of meetings? I've had some people say, why don't you just have 3 meetings a year? And I know you've got an answer to that. So from a superintendent standpoint, how would you answer that question?
It's interesting and great question. I think some universities have 1 a month or not even that frequently. But we are a very large enterprise, and the board actually needs to take official action for contracts, for payment of all of our bills, the expenses.
Really, for all
payroll,
the things you
like
and I
that.
talk about on these
Absolutely.
podcasts.
Right. If we went to 1 every 3 months, I cannot imagine the length of the meeting, but the citizens of Vanderbilt County elect our school board members to carry out their wishes. So that's why we have a meeting, in essence, twice a month, because it's so important for us to to remain engaged with our board, understand they're the governance side of our school corporation, and then they hire the superintendent as well as the rest of the staff to carry out the day-to-day operations of the school corporation. But we need the permission of the school board, of the elected officials, in order to do our work.
So really everything on the agenda that you and I are going through today and in previous podcasts, it is placed on the agenda because you, our leadership, feels like that this needs official board action.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And state law dictates that.
Yes, exactly. So, and then that takes us to consideration of personnel recommendations.
Yes. So, as I typically say, those personnel recommendations are there for your perusal. Excited to have Brandon Artis come back to Central High School,
Yes.
where he was a football star as
Yes.
well as a coach, assistant coach. And I know that he is excited to return to Central and pay it forward.
Yes, yes. Looking forward to the impact he's going to make there as well. And that takes us into action items from last night.
So 5.01, consideration toward the contract for the Central High School wall repair and improvement project of 2023. So this was taken as an information item last time. We solicited bids. Then based upon how the bids came back, the project was awarded to ARC Construction in the amount of $422,900, and this is basically to shore up one of the exterior walls at Central High School. 5.02, consideration to award the contract for the Delaware Elementary School overpass renovation project of 2023. So the process that is enumerated in the law was followed. The base bid went to Dyke Brother Lumber and Construction. By the time we put in alternate bid 1 and 2, the total amount comes to $449,200. So that includes not only the repair and renovation of the overpass of Delaware Elementary, it also includes putting a canopy in the front door or for the front door
It's going to improve
to really clean up that front
yes.
entrance, as well as encasing one of the dumpsters, frankly, for lack of
Yes,
a better word.
That happens to be there because the cafeteria and
Right.
the kitchen area is there.
Yeah, that's not how you would design a school now.
Right.
But that's the way that it was after a number of modifications. I think Delaware originally was built, I think, in the 1930s.
Yes, it does have a rich history in that neighborhood.
Yes. And I love Delaware Elementary. My folks met at Delaware Elementary School and then went to the old Central High School.
Yeah, kind of interesting to
married
think about
shortly
that.
after their graduation. So
Right.
that school is near and dear to my heart.
Yeah.
So we're happy to be able to build an enclosement that will hide the dumpster and really make the look of the front part of the building much, much nicer, as well as also addressing some safety concerns for that school overpass and making that a very attractive feature also.
And excited about that improvement. And we did touch on this last night. You want to just offer a quick summary to the question? You know, we're kind of taking the lead on that. And I know there's been a lot of research and investigation. And so why is that we're taking the lead on them?
You know, we're taking the lead on that. I think for lack of a better explanation, EVSC owns that. And I wasn't around
unique.
when it was built, right?
Right.
But I'm certain that it arose from making certain that our students had safe access across the street to go into the
Right.
playground. So at the end of the day, we could perhaps debate whose responsibility it is to maintain that and to make certain that it's in great repair. At the end of the day, our students, we want to make certain that they can travel across that safely in order to get to their playground. We're going to make it right.
And we're going to serve the Delaware school community as they deserve to be
Absolutely.
served. So,
Absolutely.
okay, very good.
5.03, consideration to reward the contract for the Cedar Hall School interior renovation project of 2023. So that work was awarded to Dyke Brother Lumber and Construction for a total amount of $891,000. And it will include the first floor Unit C, the HVAC systems, gymnasium, and locker area building interior work is detailed on the drawings, as well as replacing existing stair treads, in addition to the other work. So those were the alternates that were awarded also. And number 3 and number 6, and looking forward to having those interior renovations done. If you have driven past Cedar Hall recently, I think the exterior looks
fantastic.
yes,
Really does.
yes.
Yes.
So
And that's another thing, just like we want to make sure we're serving that Delaware community and that neighborhood, same way for the neighborhood surrounding Cedar Hall. We want to make that a true, beautiful focal point of that area, and I think it really is.
You bet. Item 5.05, consideration to award the middle school Chromebook bid that was presented by Stacy Mauser. So we are purchasing new Chromebooks for our middle school students, and the board approved that last night. 5.05, consideration to approve new WeCare rates. WeCare is a program that is offered to our employees if they have infant and toddlers. So
which many of them do.
So the infant rate is going up by $10. The toddler rate stays the same, and the pre-K rate is going up by $10. But there's a non-tuition week, and there also an added non-tuition week for a total of 6 weeks where their kids can go to WeCare typically over a portion of the week. It may be spring break where we're not in spring break, next week fall break, or Thanksgiving week where we go to school for 2 days, but there's not tuition charged for those weeks, as well as there's no tuition charged over the summer to hold a spot.
And that's proven
really
to be very popular with our employees with young children.
It is a great program for our employees.
Yeah, and high quality early learning. It's certainly not just someone's not familiar with it. It is not daycare. It is high quality early learning experiences for those children.
Absolutely. 5.06, consideration to approve the agreement with 10 Adams. So this is basically work that we have entrusted to 10 Adams to develop a website, messaging, and an online portal for all of the existing content that we have, basically from the game perspective. So we have a lot of content out there. Unfortunately, it's somewhat clumsy to get to. So we appreciate the streamlined nature and really the intuitive nature that 10 Adams.
We want to make it user friendly. It doesn't do you much good if you have a lot of great information and it's too difficult to navigate.
You bet. And then finally, under action item 5.07, consideration of the ratification of the revised MOU with the Evansville Teachers Association for student teacher mentor stipends. So I know that we have shared this earlier, but we're the first district that is now going to pay a stipend for our student teachers as they do their internship. And we are also now going to pay a stipend to our teachers that serve as student teacher mentors. So we are excited about the opportunity to provide this not only for our student teachers, but also for the student teacher mentors. And appreciate.
And what a great investment, because that just is where we start developing our teachers that are going to be serving. And I think that we've had the statistic we've talked about quite a bit. I think it's what we're around 75% or so of student teachers we're able to keep here. Of course, there's always going to be some go back home to their area where they came from, boyfriends, girlfriends, that kind of thing. But, when we get quality student teachers, we want to hang on to them. We want the best and the brightest teaching here, and that's a great way to do it.
And, we really do begin developing them during that student teaching.
That onboarding really starts from the time they hit our doors as a student teacher.
You bet it does. So, and then moving on to information items 6.01 through 6.04 are the typical items that Dr. Underwood brings on a monthly basis in terms of our financial standing.
And you can click on those, as you always say, to see anything you'd like to dive into on that.
And those records go back to 2008 on this very tool. Item 6.07, consideration to adopt policy 8513, which is political activities on school property. So as we migrate from Neola to the Indiana School Board Association's policy service, this is a new policy recommended by ISBA. So it is there for the board's perusal. And all of the information items, as you know, other than the traditional financial information, then will get moved into action items for next board meeting. So it looks like we'll just have one action item.
Okay. And I think that
24th.
You got it. That takes care of then this board meeting. As you said, we'll be back April 24th for our second meeting of this month. Covered a lot of ground in this school board meeting. So we appreciate you going through it with us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Thank you, Dr. Smith.
Thank you.